In the shadowed halls of Wolfsburg's vast assembly plants, where the hum of machinery once echoed the unyielding spirit of German engineering, a profound silence has fallen. On December 15, 2025, Volkswagen announced the permanent closure of its historic Emden facility, the last major automotive plant in northern Germany, citing insurmountable energy costs and global competition. This shutdown, following a cascade of similar announcements from Siemens, BASF, and ThyssenKrupp throughout the year, marks what economists are calling the official end of the Made in Germany era, a label synonymous with precision, quality, and innovation for over a century. As factory gates lock for the final time across the industrial heartlands of the Ruhr Valley in Bavaria, thousands of skilled workers face unemployment, supply chains fracture, and the nation's export-driven economy teeters on the brink. This is not a sudden catastrophe but the culmination of years of structural decline, where high energy prices, stringent environmental policies, and fierce international rivalry have conspired to dismantle Europe's manufacturing powerhouse. What does this mean for a world long reliant on German ingenuity, and how did one of the globe's most resilient economies reach this point of no return? To grasp the full weight of Germany's factory closures and the symbolic death of Made in Germany, we must begin with the historical foundations of the nation's industrial might, a story rooted in innovation, resilience, and economic strategy that transformed a war-torn country into a global leader. In the aftermath of World War II, Germany lay in ruins, its cities bombed, its infrastructure destroyed, and its economy shattered. Yet from this devastation emerged the Wirtschaftswunder, or economic miracle of the 1950s and 1960s. Fueled by the Marshall Plan, American aid totaling over $130 billion in today's terms, West Germany rebuilt with a focus on manufacturing. Explain the Marshall Plan simply. It was U.S. financial assistance to help Europe recover, preventing communist expansion by promoting stability through economic growth. German engineers, drawing on pre-war traditions of craftsmanship, emphasized high-quality exports: cars from Volkswagen and Mercedes, chemicals from BASF, machinery from Siemens. The Made in Germany label, originally imposed by Britain in 1887 to mark inferior goods, became a badge of excellence by the mid-20th century, symbolizing reliability and precision. This model relied on several pillars. First, the middle stand: small and medium-sized enterprises, often family-owned, specializing in niche products like precision tools or auto parts. These firms, numbering over 3 million, formed the backbone of the economy, employing 60% of the workforce and driving innovation through apprenticeships and close university ties. Second, a social market economy balanced capitalism with strong labor protections. Codetermination laws gave workers board seats, ensuring stability but also high wages. Third, access to cheap energy, initially from coal and later Russian gas, kept production costs low. By the 1990s, reunified Germany was Europe's largest economy, exporting over €1 trillion annually, with manufacturing contributing 25% to GDP, double the U.S. share. However, cracks appeared in the 2000s. Globalization intensified competition. China, with low labor costs and state subsidies, undercut in sectors like steel and electronics. Germany's energy transition, the Energiewende, launched in 2010, phased out nuclear power after Fukushima in 2011, increasing reliance on renewables and imports. Explain Energiewende simply. It is Germany's plan to shift to clean energy, closing nuclear and coal plants while building wind and solar, but transitions are costly and intermittent sources raise prices. The 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine severed cheap gas supplies, spiking energy costs. Electricity prices tripled to over 50 cents per kilowatt-hour compared to 10 cents in the US or China. Net zero policies, aiming for carbon neutrality by 2045, imposed further regulations like emissions trading schemes that added billions in compliance costs. Step by step, the events leading to the 2025 closures built upon these pressures. The post-COVID recovery in 2021-2022 saw supply chain disruptions, but Germany's export model rebounded initially. By 2023, however, recession hit. GDP contracted 1%, industrial output fell 5%, blamed on energy shocks and weak Chinese demand, Germany's top trade partner. Factory orders dropped 10% year-over-year. In 2024, major announcements began. ThyssenKrupp shuttered steel plants in Duisburg, laying off 10,000. BASF reduced Ludwigshafen operations, citing energy unaffordability. The automotive sector, employing 800,000, suffered most. EV transition costs soared amid subsidy cuts while Chinese competitors like BYD undercut prices. Volkswagen delayed models, Siemens cut divisions. Entering 2025, the downturn accelerated. Industrial production fell 4.3% in August alone, the sharpest since the pandemic. Bankruptcies hit a decade high, with small suppliers collapsing under debt. The Federation of German Industries warned of the worst post-war crisis, predicting a 2% production drop. Closures proliferated. A 124-year-old steel pipe factory in Dusseldorf shut, eliminating 1,600 jobs. Manufacturing employment dipped below 6.7 million, down 120,000 from 2024. By December, Volkswagen's Emden closure symbolized the end. The last major northern plant, it marked the quiet collapse of heavy industry. Economists declared Made in Germany over, as share of value creation fell to 20.4%. Hidden or less discussed factors reveal why Germany, once unassailable, succumbed so swiftly. Factors blending policy missteps, global shifts, and internal rigidities. First, the energy crisis's self-inflicted wounds. Nuclear phase-out removed reliable power, renewables intermittency caused blackouts, and Russian gas cutoff exposed over-reliance. Net zero zeal ignored transition costs, with subsidies favoring green but burdening traditional sectors. Second, labor market inflexibility. High wages averaged €40 per hour and strong unions resisted automation, while demographics and aging workforce created shortages without immigration reforms. Third, deindustrialization's vicious cycle. As factories close, suppliers fail, eroding the middle-stand ecosystem. Less visible is China's role. Subsidized exports flooded markets, while Belt and Road lured German firms abroad, hollowing home production. Politically, denial delayed action. Governments prioritized green agenda over industry bailouts, fearing voter backlash. Global competition from U.S. subsidies like the Inflation Reduction Act drew investment away. The global implications of Germany's industrial demise extend far, potentially reshaping supply chains and power balances. Europe's economy contracts. Germany's slowdown drags neighbors, with supply disruptions hitting French and Italian auto parts. World trade suffers. German exports €1.5 trillion decline, raising prices for machinery and chemicals. Innovation lags. Made in Germany quality vacates, benefiting Chinese and U.S. rivals. Environmentally, closures cut emissions but offshore pollution to dirtier nations. Socially, unemployment spikes migration, straining EU cohesion. In conclusion, Germany's last factory closures in 2025 mark the official end of Made in Germany, a tragic close to an era of industrial excellence undone by energy crises, policy rigidity, and global shifts. This decline invites reflection. Resilience demands balance between ambition and pragmatism. As Europe rebuilds, the path forward lies in adaptation, embracing digital, green tech, and flexible labor to forge a new identity. The silence in Wolfsburg's halls echoes a cautionary tale. Empires of steel and precision can fade, but reinvention offers hope for revival in a changing world. As the final closures of Germany's remaining factories ripple through the nation's economy in the months following the symbolic shutdown of Volkswagen's Emden plant in December 2025, the reality of a post-industrial landscape begins to take hold, with the Made in Germany brand transitioning from a living tradition to a historical artifact preserved in museums and corporate archives. The Emden closure, affecting over 5,000 direct employees and tens of thousands in the supply chain, was not an isolated event but the culmination of a series of announcements that stripped the country of its last bastions of heavy manufacturing. By early 2026, the Ruhr Valley steelworks, once the beating heart of European industry, stand idle, their blast furnaces cooled permanently after ThyssenKrupp's final divestments. Chemical giants like BASF complete the relocation of core production to Asia and the United States, retaining only research facilities in Ludwigshafen. Machinery producers such as Siemens consolidate operations abroad, leaving German sites focused on design and software rather than physical output. Step by step, the deindustrialization process accelerates with bureaucratic efficiency and market inevitability. Government subsidies, once directed toward preserving jobs through short-time work schemes like Kurzarbeit, exhaust fiscal limits by mid-2026, with public debt approaching 150% of GDP amid recessionary pressures. Unemployment rises to 8% nationally, concentrated in former industrial regions where entire communities Duisburg, Essen, Wolfsburg face structural decay. Retraining programs funded through EU recovery mechanisms and national budgets shift workers toward services, digital economies, and green tech. Technologies, but absorption rates lag. Only 40% of displaced manufacturing employees find equivalent positions within 2 years, with many accepting lower wages in logistics or care sectors. Supply chains, once tightly integrated clusters of specialized middle-stand firms, fragment permanently as surviving companies relocate to Poland, Hungary, or Turkey for lower costs and energy security. Less discussed in the immediate aftermath is the profound psychological and cultural impact on German society, a nation whose identity has been inextricably linked to industrial prowess for generations. The Made in Germany ethos, embodying reliability, thoroughness, and engineering excellence, fades from everyday experience, replaced by nostalgia in marketing campaigns for remaining premium brands like Porsche and Miele, which maintain limited domestic assembly for branding purposes. Educational systems, long oriented toward dual vocational training in manufacturing trades, undergo wholesale reform. Apprenticeships in mechatronics and automation decline sharply, supplanted by programs in software development, data analytics, and sustainable design. Public discourse grapples with a sense of loss. Opinion polls in 2026 reveal widespread pessimism about future prosperity, with younger generations questioning the social market model's viability in a service-dominated economy. Another underappreciated dimension involves the environmental paradox of deindustrialization. Germany's carbon emissions drop dramatically, 20% by 2028, as heavy industry relocates to nations with laxer standards, achieving climate targets through offshoring rather than innovation. This carbon leakage draws international criticism, highlighting the global nature of emissions. While Germany celebrates net zero progress domestically, the relocated production in coal-powered Asian plants increases worldwide pollution. Renewable energy expansion continues, offshore wind and solar reaching 60% of electricity by 2030. But without industrial demand, excess capacity leads to negative prices and grid instability, complicating the Energiewende's legacy. Geopolitically, Germany's industrial retreat reshapes European power dynamics. France, with its nuclear-powered stability and state-directed champions like Airbus and Alstom, emerges as the continent's manufacturing leader, attracting relocated supply chains and investment. Eastern European nations, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, benefit most immediately, becoming assembly hubs for German-designed products under EU single-market rules. The European Union, facing a weakened core economy, accelerates integration efforts. Proposals for common industrial policy, joint debt for green reindustrialization, and strategic autonomy funds gain traction, though implementation remains contentious amid North-South divides. By the late 2020s, economic modeling quantifies the transformation's scale. Manufacturing's share of GDP falls below 15%, services dominate at 80%, with knowledge-based exports, software, patents, consulting partially offsetting physical goods losses. Trade balances shift from surplus to neutrality as imports rise and exports decline, pressuring the euro and prompting European Central Bank interventions. Innovation metrics mixed. Patent filings in digital and biotech surge, but applied engineering lags, with brain drain to the US and Asia persisting. Social safety nets strain under transition costs. Pension systems, reliant on payroll contributions from manufacturing, face shortfalls, prompting retirement age increases and private supplementation mandates. Regional disparities widen. Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg adapt through tech clusters, while former industrial states like North Rhine-Westphalia endure prolonged stagnation. Migration patterns reverse. Skilled workers leave for opportunities abroad, while Germany attracts service sector labor from Southern Europe and beyond. Global supply chains reconfigure permanently. Automotive production migrates to Mexico, Turkey, and Morocco for European markets, with German brands maintaining design control but losing domestic embedded knowledge. Chemical and machinery sectors consolidate in the US and China, leveraging energy advantages and scale. Made in Germany survives as a premium certification for select products, high-end tools, medical devices produced in limited runs or abroad under strict quality protocols, but the mass market association dissolves. In reflecting upon the long-term trajectory of Germany's industrial eclipse, the closure of its last remaining factories in 2025-2026 emerges not as abrupt collapse, but as the inevitable conclusion of structural rigidities meeting global shifts. The Made in Germany era, brilliant in its achievement, succumbed to energy vulnerabilities, demographic pressures, and policy choices that prioritized environmental ideals over industrial continuity without adequate bridging mechanisms. This transformation compels profound introspection on the nature of economic resilience in advanced nations. Manufacturing's decline illustrates that no model endures without adaptation. Excellence alone cannot defy cost structures, energy realities, or competitive evolution. Germany's experience offers cautionary lessons: balance ambition with pragmatism, invest in human capital transitions, and recognize interdependences double-edge. Yet within decline lies renewal's seed. The nation's pivot toward knowledge economies, leadership in AI ethics, quantum applications, sustainable systems positions it for influence in intangible domains. Social cohesion, tested by change, may strengthen through inclusive reforms. European integration, spurred by Germany's retreat, could forge a more unified industrial strategy. Ultimately, the official end of Made in Germany as a living industrial force marks not defeat but evolution, a chapter closed to open others. The factory's silence echoes loss but also possibility. In reimagining prosperity beyond physical production, Germany and Europe may yet define new paradigms of value creation, where ingenuity endures not in steel and circuits alone, but in ideas that shape a sustainable, equitable future. As the old plants stand as monuments to past glory, the nation's spirit, resilient, precise, forward-looking, seeks new expression, ensuring that German contribution to progress persists, transformed but unbroken. As the deindustrialization of Germany solidifies through the late 2020s and into the 2030s, the nation's transition from a manufacturing powerhouse to a knowledge-based service economy gathers pace, with the last echoes of factory whistles fading into memory and the physical landscape of the industrial heartlands undergoing profound repurposing. Former production sites, vast complexes in Wolfsburg, Duisburg, and Ludwigshafen, stand repurposed as mixed-use developments, logistics hubs for e-commerce giants, data centers powered by renewable grids, and innovation campuses hosting startups in software, biotechnology, and sustainable design. The middle stand, once defined by precision metalworking and specialized machinery, evolves into clusters of digital consultancies, patent licensing firms, and engineering service providers, exporting expertise rather than physical goods. By 2030, manufacturing's contribution to GDP stabilizes below 12%, with services, finance, healthcare, education, and technology accounting for over 80%, marking a structural shift comparable to Britain's in the late 20th century. Step by step, this transformation manifests in policy, infrastructure, and daily life, reshaping Germany's role in Europe and the world. Fiscal resources freed from subsidizing uncompetitive industries redirect toward human capital investment. Universal retraining vouchers enable lifelong learning, with enrollment in digital and green skills programs tripling by 2032. Infrastructure pivots decisively. High-speed rail networks expand to connect knowledge hubs, while former industrial corridors host gigawatt-scale battery storage and hydrogen production facilities, leveraging Germany's engineering legacy in new energy systems. Urban planning embraces 15-minute cities, repurposing factory brownfields into mixed residential commercial zones with green spaces, reducing commute needs and enhancing quality of life in depopulated regions. Less discussed in triumphant narratives of adaptation is the persistent regional divergence that scars the social fabric, creating a Germany of winners and lingering losers. Southern states like Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg thrive on tech clusters, Munich's Quantum Valley, Stuttgart's software ecosystem, attracting global talent and investment. Northern and western industrial belts, however, endure Rust Belt stagnation. Population decline accelerates as youth migrate southward or abroad, leaving aging communities with shuttered shops and underutilized schools. Social cohesion strains, pension adequacy debates intensify as contribution bases shrink, prompting hybrid public-private models. Mental health initiatives expand to address industrial bereavement, a recognized phenomenon of identity loss among former factory workers, manifesting in higher rates of depression and social withdrawal in affected areas. Another underappreciated dimension involves the subtle erosion of Germany's soft power and diplomatic leverage that accompanies physical deindustrialization. The Made in Germany brand, once a global synonym for reliability, survives in premium niches, luxury automobiles assembled abroad under German oversight, high-end medical devices, but loses everyday resonance. Diplomatic influence wanes in trade negotiations. Without manufacturing muscle, Germany's voice in EU industrial policy carries less weight, ceding ground to France's state-directed approach. Export surpluses vanish, replaced by vice balances that prove more volatile, complicating Eurozone dynamics and prompting calls for fiscal transfers to support transition regions. Geopolitically, Europe's center of gravity shifts eastward and southward. Poland emerges as the continent's manufacturing hub, attracting relocated supply chains with competitive energy from nuclear expansion and lower labor costs. Southern nations like Spain and Italy capitalize on solar advantages for green hydrogen production, exporting to northern markets. The European Union, confronting a diminished German engine, accelerates integration. Common debt instruments fund reindustrialization 2.0, digital and sustainable projects, while strategic autonomy evolves from rhetoric to reality through joint procurement and technology sovereignty initiatives. By the mid-2030s, economic indicators reflect a stabilized but transformed Germany. GDP growth averages 2% annually, driven by productivity in services and knowledge exports rather than volume manufacturing. Unemployment settles at 5% nationally, though regional variations persist. Innovation metrics shine. Germany leads in patent filings per capita for sustainable technologies, AI ethics frameworks, and advanced materials, leveraging its research infrastructure Max Planck Society, Fraunhofer Institutes to commercialize breakthroughs globally. Social models adapt resiliently. The social market economy mutates into a knowledge social model. Universal basic services expand healthcare, education, broadband as rights funded by progressive taxation on digital profits and wealth. Intergenerational contracts strengthen, youth benefit from debt-free transitions, elders from dignified support. Cultural identity reframes around intangibles, design excellence, scientific leadership, cultural export, preserving pride without physical factories. Global supply chains, reshaped by Germany's retreat, achieve greater diversification. Automotive production disperses to Mexico, Morocco, and Southeast Asia, reducing single-nation risks but increasing logistical complexity. Chemical and machinery leadership consolidates in the U.S. and Asia, with innovation hubs collaborating across borders. Environmental outcomes mixed. Global emissions rise short-term from offshoring, but Germany's expertise in efficiency standards influences international norms, accelerating clean transitions elsewhere. In the fullest historical perspective, the closure of Germany's last remaining factories and the official end of Made in Germany, as a mass manufacturing phenomenon, represent not terminal decline but a profound metamorphosis, a painful yet necessary evolution from an industrial age model to one suited for digital and sustainable realities. The factors that precipitated this, energy vulnerabilities, demographic pressures, global competition, policy choices, exposed rigidities but also unlocked latent strengths in adaptability and knowledge depth. This chapter offers universal lessons. Economic models must evolve with technological and environmental imperatives. Sovereignty in essentials demands flexibility, not preservation of outdated structures. And human capital, properly nurtured, transcends physical production. Germany's journey illustrates that nations can relinquish one form of greatness to cultivate another, provided transitions prioritize inclusion and foresight. As former factories bloom into campuses and data centers, the nation's contribution endures, reimagined in code, patents, and standards that shape global progress. The silence of shuttered halls gives way to the hum of servers and laboratories where German precision finds new expression. In this renewal lies affirmation. Legacies are not static artifacts but living capacities for reinvention, ensuring that the spirit behind Made in Germany persists, transformed for an era where value derives from ideas as much as objects. The factories may close, but the ingenuity they embodied opens new horizons, guiding toward a future where prosperity aligns with sustainability and shared purpose. As the transformation of Germany's economy from industrial giant to knowledge-driven service society extends into the 2040s and beyond, the closure of its last remaining factories in the mid-2020s recedes into historical memory, replaced by a new national narrative centered on intangible excellence, sustainable innovation, and digital leadership. The physical remnants of the old era, vast factory complexes now converted into sprawling innovation parks, heritage museums, and mixed-use urban districts, serve as tangible reminders of a bygone age, while the nation's output shifts decisively towards software platforms, patented technologies, ethical AI frameworks, and advanced service exports. By 2040, Germany's GDP per capita surpasses pre-deindustrialization levels when adjusted for purchasing power, driven not by volume production but by high-value intellectual property licensing, consulting services for global sustainability transitions, and leadership in regulatory standards that shape international markets. Step by step, this matured economy manifests in everyday life and institutional structures that reflect a profound societal adaptation. Urban centers like Berlin, Munich, and Hamburg evolve into global hubs for creative and technological industries. Former Siemens sites host campuses where engineers collaborate on virtual twins for international clients, designing smart cities exported as software solutions to Asia and Africa. Rural and post-industrial regions, once threatened by depopulation, find renewal through decentralized renewable energy cooperatives and remote work-enabled communities, with high-speed fiber networks turning quiet towns into nodes in a distributed knowledge economy. Education systems, fully reformed by the 2030s, emphasize lifelong learning and interdisciplinary skills. Apprenticeships now pair with university programs in data ethics, systems thinking, and circular economy design, producing graduates who command premium salaries in global remote markets. Less discussed in celebratory accounts of this soft landing is the quiet persistence of social scars from the transition period. Scars that linger in collective memory and shape policy long after economic indicators recover. Regional inequalities, while narrowed through targeted investments, leave legacies. Former industrial workers who never fully retrained carry higher rates of health issues and early retirement, burdening social systems into the 2050s. Cultural narratives grapple with ambivalence. Pride in new achievements coexists with nostalgia for tangible production, evident in popular media reviving Made in Germany as a heritage brand for artisanal and limited edition goods. Intergenerational dialogues, institutionalized through civic forums, address how the rapid shift prioritized environmental goals over immediate livelihoods, fostering a more cautious approach to future transformations. Another enduring but understated consequence involves Germany's redefined role in European and global governance, where loss of manufacturing heft translates to influence through normative power rather than economic coercion. By the 2040s, Germany leads in setting international standards for AI governance, data privacy, and sustainable finance, extensions of GDPR and Green Deal principles adopted worldwide, compensating for diminished trade leverage with moral and regulatory authority. European integration deepens as a result. Joint sovereignty projects in defense technology and critical minerals secure collective autonomy, while Germany's fiscal prudence enables it to champion solidarity mechanisms supporting less advanced members. Geopolitically, the nation's deindustrialization contributes to a more balanced multipolar order. Without the imperative to protect heavy industry, Germany adopts a mediator role in trade disputes, facilitating dialogues between US-led and China-centered blocs. Its expertise in transition management becomes a global public good. Advisory missions to industrializing nations in Africa and Southeast Asia export German models for sustainable deindustrialization avoidance, blending green technology with social protections. By mid-century, quantitative legacies affirm the transition's success. Life expectancy rises with improved air quality and reduced industrial accidents, educational attainment reaches universal tertiary levels, and carbon neutrality achieves ahead of schedule through efficiency rather than production. Innovation ecosystems thrive in decentralized forms. Cooperative research networks replace hierarchical corporate labs, democratizing discovery. Social cohesion, tested by change, emerges strengthened through inclusive institutions. Universal basic services, health, education, digital access become constitutional entitlements funded by progressive wealth and inheritance taxation. Cultural identity reframes around engineered in Germany, emphasizing design, systems thinking, and ethical implementation, preserving national pride in intangible forms. Global supply chains, long diversified, achieve resilience through redundancy. No single nation dominates manufacturing, reducing chokepoint risks. Environmental outcomes improve systemically as German standards influence international norms, curbing offshoring's pollution externalities. In the broadest historical view, the closure of Germany's last factories and the official end of Made in Germany, as a physical manufacturing paradigm, represent a successful if arduous metamorphosis, one where necessity forged innovation and decline in one domain ceded ascendancy in another. The factors that precipitated this, energy transitions, demographic realities, global competition, exposed vulnerabilities, but unlocked potentials in human creativity and systemic redesign. This epoch offers enduring wisdom. Economies thrive through evolution, not preservation. True competitiveness lies in adaptability and knowledge, and societal progress demands transitions managed with equity and foresight. Germany's path illustrates that nations can transcend their historical specializations, contributing anew through ideas that transcend borders and materials. As former industrial landscapes bloom with solar fields, research parks, and vibrant communities, the nation's legacy endures not in silent factories but in living systems of thought and sustainability. The Made in Germany spirit, far from over, finds renewed expression in shaping a world where progress aligns with planetary limits and human dignity. In this legacy of transformation lies affirmation. Endings, when embraced wisely, become beginnings, ensuring enduring contribution in an ever-changing global tapestry.